Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to day 3 of Regex for Dummies. So, as always, let's go over day 2's quiz. Number 1, what's the difference between PHP's preg match and JavaScript's someVariable.match? Some of you got this. If you did, congratulations. Preg underscore match is going to return a Boolean value, so either true or false. On the other hand, with JavaScript, someVariable.match is actually going to return the string that is matched. Okay, so some variable, if it contained a long sentence and we matched one word, that would return the one word that was matched, and it would store it in whatever variable. So if you said my variable equals some variable.match, my variable would equal what was matched. True or false? You should wrap quotations around your regular expressions when working with JavaScript. False. Do not use quotations. All right. So just instead of with PHP, you might do something like this. Some words. With JavaScript, just get rid of those and get right into your delimiters. Number 3, homework. What is the difference between greedy and lazy matching? And that's what we're going to work on right now. So let me open up this Regex expression program that we've been working with. And first, to give you an idea, if you remember a couple days ago, I asked you what is the best way to select the first 3 words, okay? And remember, one way is if you know exactly what you're selecting, you could just literally type the words, okay? But sometimes you don't always know what you're selecting. So you could do something like, let's do this again. We could do any word character. Now this is going to include letters and underscore as well as numbers. So we could say we want any of those, one or more, followed by a space, which is represented by the escape S, and then we could wrap that in parentheses and do 3. If we turn off ignore case and global, it's going to return the first 3 words. But now remember, it's returning the first 3 words and that space after the 3rd word. You see, after 2, there's an extra space. And the reason is because we've selected find letters that are immediately followed by a space. So it starts and finds as many letters, and then when it gets to a space, it stops. And it finds 3 occurrences of that. So when you have the option, we could even do something like this. After the space, you could say the space is optional by doing a question mark. And if you remember, a question mark specifies that there can be 0 or 1 occurrences of the preceding character. In this case, a space. But it's greedy, and it's going to try to use that space. So to further clarify, if there's a space and the engine has the option of using the space or not using a space, it's going to be greedy and try to add that space. So there is a way to make it lazy, meaning by default, if you have the option, don't add the space or don't add the preceding character. And the way we can make this lazy is by adding another question mark. And you see here, now the space is gone because we've selected make this string lazy, meaning if you have the choice, don't add the space if you don't need to, okay? So 1 question mark, 0 or 1 occurrences of the preceding character, but be greedy and try to get that occurrence. 2 is the opposite. All right, so that's the difference. Now, we're going to work on something a bit more real world. I got an email from one of you asking, I enjoy the series, but I still don't understand. What if I wanted to validate an email address? How would you do that? This is probably slightly more advanced than I would like to get into today, but we're going to go ahead and do it. So let me go ahead and type in an email address. Let's do my site manager at themeforce.net. Now we need to try to match this. So let's just kind of build it. We're going to start where we want a word character. And why don't we use a character class? That way we can select a variety of characters that are accepted. So word character, that can be any letter or number or underscore, and a dash. I think that'll be okay for now. And we want to find 1 or more occurrences of that. So that should take us to here. because the escape W is not going to match symbols. So next we need to add the @ sign. So just type that in manually, @. And then once again, we're going to have the exact same thing again, one or more occurrences of those. And then we're going to have a dot, right? So at somesite.com or .net. Now you could type a period, but try to think what is wrong with that period being the way it is. And the reason is the period is a symbol with regular expressions, and the period matches any character except for a line break. So it'll match numbers, it'll match letters, it'll match symbols, dashes, $signs, anything except a line break. So when we type in this period, the engine is literally assuming that we mean find any character. So if you want to specify, no, I mean find a period, you need to escape it. All right, and you add a backslash in front of it. And so now if we hover over it, it means matches the period character. And if we get rid of it and hover over it, it's going to say matches any character. All right, so that's an important one. And then finally, we need the extension, which is usually going to be .edu, .net, .com, .org. Usually I've found there are 3 characters, though I do think there are some that are 2 and some that are 4. So why don't we just be safe and say find any more word characters or a dash. Actually, let's be more specific, because there's never going to be numbers in the extension, right? So we'll do uppercase A to Z, lowercase A to Z. I really don't think there would be numbers, but there could be a dash, an underscore, or a dash. And if we want to select a range rather than just 0 or more or 1 or more, remember we can use our curly braces, and we can say a minimum of 2 and a maximum of 4. So it's saying a minimum of 2 of this entire character class right here. So remember, this character class, if we got rid of the curly braces, that's only going to return 1 character total. It's saying choose 1, and it can be A to Z, lowercase a to Z, an underscore, or a dash. So if you want to select more, you need to actually specify a range. In this case, a minimum of 2, but a maximum of 4. So you can see here, it's selecting my email address. Now, if this is different from what you found, don't worry, there's tons of different ways to match a email address. This is probably a little light. You could be more specific if you want. It just depends on what your application is. So let me try out a few more. Let me try my NetTouch account, see if that's selected. By default, it's not, because we don't have global checked. So pay attention to the regular expression right here. That's being selected. Personal, Jeffrey at jeff-way.com, being selected. Let's just try some random John, Joe at john-joe.com. Is that being selected? Good. .edu, .org, .ce. Let's try a longer one, something that doesn't exist. And you see, it's still selecting. So this is going to return true, because just because it didn't select the whole thing doesn't mean there wasn't a match. It did find a match. So how can we specify that we want the entire string to match and not just the characters? You can do it a couple ways. PHP or JavaScript, you might do something where you wrap it like this. And that means the caret represents the beginning of a string and the $sign represents the end of a string. However, I think with this program, they prefer that you use a \b. Let's see if I can find that for you right here. And that matches a word boundary. Okay, so it's going to match the entire string here. So we can just match that, \b, \b. And now you can see if the whole string did not match, then it returns false. And this is returning false because we have 9 or 10 characters when we only allow a maximum of 4. So if we reduce that, now it gets selected, as you can see. So let's go over this one more time if you need to. We start with our wrapping word boundaries, okay? And then we're selecting any word character, find 1 or more of those, but stop when you get to the @ symbol, all right? Next, we are matching the site's name. So we have another word characters and a dash that we allow. Next, we are getting a period, literally a period. So we specify that by using a backslash. And then we need to get the extension. And we know it's not going to be numbers, at least to the best of my knowledge. So we're literally saying just allow uppercase or lowercase a to z, an underscore or a dash, and find a minimum of 2 and a maximum of 4, and then another word boundary. And that's matching everything. We can always test it and with a bunch of them see if there's anything, maybe a character I don't know that's allowed to be included. I don't think you can include things like Jeff question mark or those, but if you can, then we can go ahead and edit that, and all you would do is in your first section you would append those letters. So you could do $, things like that. But I'm sure this is going to work just fine. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment, and I'll see you with day 4. Bye-bye.